Stop these rude conversation habits. It has been said that the ability to hold a good conversation has become a lost art form. This is sad, but true. Nowadays, because the majority of conversations take place electronically, when people get together to converse, it is not unusual to see a group of people gathered around a table, coupled with delicious foods around them, and every single one of those people have their heads down, fork in one hand, phone in the other. Sadly, in this day and age, the ability to hold a good conversation seems to be reserved for formal settings, such as in the boardroom or during face-to-face meetings. Your conversations with others can be fun, rewarding, and edifying, or they can be annoying, time-wasting, and even insulting. Whether the former or the latter, it's you and the person you're speaking with that determine how your conversation turns out. To help you make conversations worthwhile and enjoyable to both parties, here are some rude conversation habits you should avoid. The purpose of this video is to flesh out conversation habits you may be adopting that could ultimately ruin a conversation and even your relationships with people. If you are known for doing these things habitually, people may avoid conversing with you and you may garner a reputation as one who is even disrespectful and has a flagrant disregard for others around you. You may be doing this inadvertently, therefore please listen to this video carefully to ensure you put these bad conversation habits to bed. My wonderful Elegance ladies, welcome back to another video. My name is Vivian and I am the founder of Woman of Elegance, which is a platform I've created to help women globally become the most elegant, feminine and classy women that they can be. If you haven't already done so, please do consider subscribing to this channel and sharing this video with friends you think will benefit from it. So without further ado, let's explore 15 conversation habits you must avoid. Point number 1, cutting people off. You're speaking with someone and you keep cutting the person off. Sarah is trying to make a point which in your mind is taking too long, so you swoop in and you complete her sentences for her. You somehow manage to explain to her how you were in a similar situation and you successfully turn the focus of the conversation on you. This is very rude and annoying. Interruption is a conversation killer. When you keep interrupting a person, it's either they just forget what they want to say or they leave the floor entirely to you alone. Understandably, there are times you may feel it's important to interrupt. Journalists do this all the time. When there is a strict time slot to report on a news bulletin, it may be necessary to interject to ensure all points are addressed. Perhaps you want to quickly correct or spare someone from making a mistake or even saying too much, or contribute this new idea that just popped into your mind. However, if you interrupt because you are too impatient to allow the person to finish their sentence, then this is a habit you need to dispel. If it's necessary to interrupt a person because, for instance, of time constraints, don't do so when they're in the middle of speaking about an account. However, if there is a short gap mid-conversation, then you can interject quickly. Better still, it is important to allow people to finish their sentences. Constantly interrupting a conversation breeds resentment and makes the speaker unwilling to continue with their conversation. Being a good listener is so important in many relationships such as marriage, friendships, and professional relationships. Always allow others to finish before you contribute to yours. Use discernment to ascertain when a good time to interject will be. Watch for when they finish making their points and then in turn you can make yours. If you must interrupt, make sure it's because it's a matter of urgency, and even then it should not be frequently. Point number 2, scrolling through your phone. To say it as it is, this is outrightly disrespectful. The only time this is acceptable is when you're discussing something that requires showing a particular thing to the other person on your phone, such as photographs. And even when you are doing this, you should reassure the person that you are still listening to what is being said, using nods, for example, and then glancing whilst you're on the phone, glancing to the other person intermittently. Nothing says, "I don't care what you have to say," more than fiddling with your phone during a conversation. The other person may interpret your actions to mean absolute nonchalance. And truth be told, it is hard to give people your full attention when you're scrolling through your phone. Whether you're checking out posts on Instagram or you're setting a reminder for an upcoming event, it is demeaning to be engaging on your phone during conversations. If you have an important or urgent call or text to make, respectfully ask the other person's permission. "I'm sorry, but please, I really have to take this phone call." Don't make this a habit though, or you'll be breaking rule number 1, frequent interruption. Point number 3, chuckling cynically or making sarcastic comments. If you're in the habit of making cutting remarks, or you can't help but incorporate sarcasm into your sentences, then this is a cause for concern. This can only mean that you either hold the person in disdain or you're mocking them because you don't believe what they are telling you. Whichever is the case, it comes across rudely and disrespectfully to the speaker. As a result, they may slowly end the conversation, or it may push them to go on the defensive and start making unnecessary explanations. When somebody is talking to you and you're shaking your head in mock disbelief, or you make snide remarks, you make it look like they're lying to you. When you add cynicism to the mix, it will make them look foolish and unintelligent. When you chuckle when they haven't said anything funny, then this appears that you're mocking them or you aren't taking them seriously. This way you appear difficult and rude. Sarcasm in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, too much sarcasm is inappropriate during conversations. Maybe the aim is to spice up the conversation and keep it lively. However, being too sarcastic can come across as being rude, especially if you're talking to a new acquaintance who doesn't know or understand your sense of humor. Gauge who you're having a conversation with and check whether your jokes or funny retorts would be misunderstood for rudeness. Point number 3, frequently completing sentences for the other speaker. Some people have this unpleasant habit of completing sentences for others. They not only do this when the person is perhaps lost for words or searching for proper words to express their thoughts. They do this all the time. They must say something at the end of each sentence. Conversations with these types of people can be so annoying because they will always intrude rudely at the end of every sentence you make. So what if the person has a speech impediment such as a stammer or a stutter? As tempting as it may be, avoid rounding up their conversations for them. You may mean well, but this could further frustrate the speaker. Allow them to finish their sentence. When you converse with these sentence completers, you either feel boxed into accepting their own completion for your statement, even though that's not what you had in mind, or you just completely drop the conversation totally. Maybe this quirky habit was born out of a desire to help, but you're actually not helping when you do this. You make the other speaker lose their trail of thought and make their points lack cohesion. Point number 4, looking elsewhere when someone is talking to you. Eye contact is more intimate than words. Good eye contact during a conversation is vital. Eye contact can convey empathy, understanding, and concern. Effective eye contact is an art form in itself. You don't want to stare incessantly, but on the other hand, when you don't maintain good eye contact with somebody you're conversing with, you're giving a signal that you are not interested in what they are saying. This is rude and discouraging. No matter how much you nod vigorously and affirm, "Yes, I'm with you," they won't believe you because your eyes say something else. And remember, the eyes never lie. As a bare minimum, making eye contact with someone means you see them and acknowledge their presence. Have you ever gone into a store and asked the sales assistant to show you where an item is and they don't even look up to glance at you? In a previous situation, I have felt invisible, non-existent, and even small. They may be listening to you, but all of a sudden, that doesn't matter. You're already offended at this point. Looking elsewhere when somebody is speaking with you is impolite. Point number 5, Moving your body restlessly. Still on the subject of body language, another behavior trait that is rude is continuously, constantly moving around or part of your body during conversations. Clenching and unclenching your fists, shaking your legs, tapping the table, tapping your lap or your handbag, shifting your weight listlessly from one foot to the other connotes impatience, okay? If you can help it, try not to seem so agitated and uncomfortable, lest people say that you are known for being a terrible conversationalist and a poor listener. Point number 6, claiming you know it all. I know, I already know that. Yes, she told me already. I read that article 2 weeks ago. This kind of grandstanding makes the other speaker look unintelligent and uninteresting. When you claim to know it all during a conversation, you risk being condescending and irritating. Mind you, it doesn't make them or anyone else regard you as knowledgeable. Rather, it makes them see you as one arrogant and unteachable person. Many people who during a conversation claim they know it all give off this stuffy air of superiority, and this is a personality trait people generally avoid. Even if you're a living encyclopedia and know everything there is to know, always give people a chance to express their thoughts. By the way, no one is the epitome of knowledge. There's always something new to learn. When somebody is telling you something and you keep saying you already know, you may be depriving yourself of an opportunity to learn something new. Having a conversation with a know-it-all is a pain in the neck. It truly is. Point number 7, giving unsolicited advice. Whether it's medical advice, advice about which university you should attend, whether you can do so much better than the man you're currently with, or whether to try IVF or not, unsolicited advice usually comes in the form of suggestions, advice, or help that you did not ask for. No matter the relationship dynamic, please do not assume that your advice is sought after or appreciated. Unless the person implied by their words or actions that they need or want your advice, you should restrain from shooting advice at them. If they want it, it is likely they will ask for it. Sometimes people share a problem with you just to get it off their chest, something known as ranting or venting. What they probably need might just be empathy or emotional support and not advice on what to do. They may not necessarily be seeking any advice at the moment, and so giving unsolicited advice would come off as awkward and rude to them. Don't be a busybody in other people's affairs. Keep it classy and keep your opinions to yourself unless asked to do so otherwise. Point number 8, monopolizing the conversation. When you think of a monopoly, what normally comes to mind is total control and preventing people from having any effect on an outcome. Some of us grew up in households where having a voice was not encouraged. Some, on the other hand, grew up in households where being assertive and dominant were traits that were encouraged. Conversation monopolization is a typical narcissistic trait. Whether they're completely in love with the sound of their own voice or whether people have suddenly become irrelevant, monopolizing a conversation can be damning to a relationship. When you keep talking and don't give the speaker a chance to chip in their points, you kill the conversation. Remember, having a conversation is different from delivering a speech. Conversation is called dialogue for a reason. You speak and the other person listens, and vice versa. It's different from a monologue when one person takes the stage from start to finish. Hence, it is improper to deprive the other person an opportunity to air their own views. Of course, we all want people to take some interest in us, but you must remember that people are only interested in people who are interested in them. So please stop thinking that everything is about you and take some interest in the person you are talking to. Stay silent for 2 minutes and listen to what the other party has to say. Ask open-ended questions and actually take the time to listen to what they're saying, not just hearing. Point number 9, being insensitive to the other person's feelings. It's good to say things the way they are, to be frank and direct, but emotional intelligence demands that you speak with intelligence and empathy. Speaking without empathy is talking to somebody without thinking of how your words make them feel. No matter how close you are to somebody, empathy, tact, and speaking in a loving way works wonders. There is so much power in the tongue. The right words are healing at the right time. Being insensitive is bad behavior, and you could hurt someone unintentionally. When you're having a conversation with a person, don't just blurt out everything that comes to your head. Process your thoughts, try to preempt the effect your submissions may have on them, and speak with kindness. Pay attention to the person. This will help you note their expressions and reactions. You'll be able to tell when they're beginning to lose interest in a topic or they're uncomfortable with a conversation. If you notice that they are not comfortable discussing a particular topic, change the topic immediately or give them space. This is where it pays dividends to be discerning. You don't want to ruin your friendships because you do not know how to control your tongue. Point number 10, going on and on about yourself. You just have to experience this firsthand to know how rude and annoying this is. If you've ever had a conversation with a braggart, you may have an idea of what I'm talking about here. Some people just have this bad habit of talking about themselves constantly throughout a conversation. Everything is about them, their accomplishments, their amazing partner, all the incredible countries they visited, etc., etc., etc. Making a conversation about you and you alone is annoying and frustrating to the other person. You will come across as pompous, selfish, and arrogant. You have to consider the person you're speaking with. They too have experiences and opinions they may like to share. Even if they are shy and introverted, show them you care about them by asking them questions. Just as you're delighted to share yours, they too would like to share their experiences also. In addition to this, talking about yourself alone makes the conversation boring. If you want to make it all about you, then write a biography. Point number 11, trying to outdo the other speaker. This is also called being a one-upper. Unless you're having a debate or you're an advocate in court, please avoid making an innocent conversation look like a competition. Avoid the temptation to show the other person that their experience has got nothing on yours. For example, she narrates how she nearly missed her flight and had to drive like James Bond to the airport in order to catch her flight. And then you feel the need to top her story with how you once missed your flight and they made an emergency landing and picked you. Yes, I know it's a little exaggerated, but you get the essence of what I mean. They tell you how they spent their last summer at Brooklyn, and then you one up their story by mentioning you visited 4 other cities in addition to Brooklyn. It's a conversation, for goodness sake, and not a show off of who does it better. Topping your story to look better than the other speakers presents you as self-centered, and most of the time, these grand stories are just lies that are made to impress or outshine others. Even if you truly did all these things better, try not to rain on the other speaker's parade. You can mention your experiences without making theirs appear inconsequential or diminished in comparison. Point number 12, dismissing the other speaker's submission as irrelevant. Similar to the last point I made, it is very rude to wave off the contributions of the person you're discussing with as useless or irrelevant. Please do not do this. Whether you voice it out expressly or it's implied by your body language, this is harsh and impolite. Nobody likes their opinion being cast off as inconsequential. So next time, instead of using words or phrases such as totally off the mark, irrelevant, useless, to tell a person that they're not correct, find a more respectful way to say this. I don't think that is entirely true. Or let's bring the conversation back to the same page. Oh, that's good to know you're looking at it from a different perspective. These other suggestions are more dignified and elegant. This way, you dignify the person and avoid making them feel small. Point number 13, asking private questions. There is a difference between wanting to break the ice or keep a nice conversation going and going as far as to ask personal questions to satisfy your curiosity. Some people have a penchant for asking questions that are too personal. Imagine somebody asking you how much your spouse earns and then actually expecting you to answer them. Applying common sense and discretion will help you decide which questions to ask during a conversation and avoid questions that are too intrusive. Better still, unless the other person raised his or her personal issues themselves, you should keep off topics that are too personal. Allow the person you're conversing with to willingly volunteer this information. Your level of closeness with the person you're conversing with should determine what comes off as casual, private, or intrusive. Asking probing questions can be annoying and rude, regardless of how close you are to the person. Think of that particular aunt who's always asking you when you're going to have a child. You just want to avoid her. And this is how others feel too when we ask them awkward questions. Point number 14. Keeping mute and allowing the discussion to be one-sided. On the contrary to diatribe queen, there are some people who stay silent throughout a conversation and contribute absolutely nothing. Ignoring the other speaker and allowing them to talk without you responding is equally rude. This could be taken to mean that you have no interest in the conversation, so there's no point in contributing to it. You make yourself unapproachable by exhibiting this behavior. Silence is necessary sometimes, but at least your body language should show that you're engaged with what the person is saying and even interested. Have you noticed that people just walk away quietly from you when you don't respond during conversations? They're obviously walking away offended. If you generally have nothing to contribute to a conversation, your body language should convey interest in what is being said. So none of this. Be more engaged. Point number 15. Having earphones and earplugs in your ears during conversations. I personally consider this the pinnacle of rudeness during a conversation. If you don't want to have a conversation at that moment, just say so. How could you block your ears with earphones and expect the other person you're speaking with to go on with the conversation? The thing is this, you may be able to hear clearly when the things are in your ears, but the body language you paint at the moment says, I'm not listening to you. Shut up and go away. I'm not interested. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody and wondering whether they're listening to you or playing music in their headphones? Pluck the plugs from your ears when speaking with somebody, unless it's a hearing device that helps you hear more clearly. Please just remove the headphones when speaking to people. Ladies, I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope it spurred you on to dispel some of these conversation habits if you're accustomed to them. Thank you very much for watching.